Hello YouTube, welcome back. It's been a while. I'm sorry, life's been busy. Holidays, my smalls, all the things. But I have something I want to share with everybody to try to help save everybody some money. And also just to get some heat in your house. If you have the Harman Magnum Stoker like I do, I have 2 or 3 videos about that already. So I want to show you some things. I had a feed motor go out like 2 or 3 days before this really cold weather came in. Luckily I had bought an extra stove for my, it's not really an extra stove, but I bought a stove for my house this year. If you watch my other videos on the Harman stoves, you'll see it was just to save money because the oil was so high and the electric's so high. So that being said, the new stove that I bought, that I had to weld a new panel in because it was old, the feed motor quit. I got home one day and my wife had said, hey, the house is getting cold. And I noticed, went down, everything was running. All the lights were on the control box. No, the feed motor wasn't running. I'm like, oh no. And I felt it and it was warm, but it wasn't turning. So I shut it off. I ended up tearing the motor out of the one in my garage, putting it down in the house to get me going. And that's very simple. It only took like 10 or 15 minutes to swap them out. So I'm going to show you everything that I can to help you guys out. So just stay tuned. And I have some bearings, which is a whole nother issue. The bearings are not a regular bearing from what I found. I bought some that didn't work. So I'll just get into that right now. So let me get you down here where you can see. Okay. Now, get you backed up here a little bit. Here's the bearing that came out of the motor. There was 2 of these. One of them was destroyed. If you can see it there. Of all places, I found the actual bearing that I needed. It was on Amazon. And I want to show you something here. It says 608 right on the bearing. Let me take you over to my computer here real quick. Go along for a ride, don't mind the mess. Okay. Now, this is my order that I made from Amazon. The bearing that was in my feed motor on my Harman Magnum Stoker, the number was 608 SS D21. And it had NMB on it, and it also said Singapore. Let me click on this so you can see a better picture of, yeah, that's not going to show what you guys need to see, I'm sure. But trust me, it says Singapore. So the bearing I got has the exact same everything on it, on the shield. So the problem I had is when I started looking up 608 bearings, the bearings that come up that are the most popular are for like skateboards, scooters, you know, roller skates. All those take the regular 608 bearing. Sorry, you're in my face. Here you have a wheel off my daughter's Razor. So I stole the 608 bearing out of it. It's metric. 608 stands for 8 millimeters inside. And if you do this, and we're in inches, metric, 0, run this out. There you can see where we're at. We're at 8 millimeters. So if you guys can see this, this is what a regular 608 bearing is going to be. The bearing that came off of the stove, I measured. It's basically right around 7.9. Okay. And it says 608 on it. That's what has me really confused. And then you mic out where the bearing rides on the shaft. And let me get back to this. And it's right around, I did this earlier. I might have some dirt on it now. It is, look at that, 7.91, which is what the bearing that came off of it is. And here's the other side. Same thing, 7.91. So you go putting an 8mm bearing on the shaft, and as you can, hopefully you guys can see this, this isn't gonna work. So that had me completely baffled why the bearing that came off of it that said 608, this bearing has 608 on it, of that number I showed you earlier. But the inside diameter is 7.91, and so is the shaft. So I found those bearings, and I went ahead and ordered 2 of them. Thank goodness. I'm gonna put them on now. I wish I had a fancy press, but I don't. So I will put these bearings on, and I will use a 5/16 inch deep well, and that will, as you can see, it slides down over the shaft, and it'll push the bearing right on. So if you're taking these old bearings off, you have to be very careful. There's a very small, I'm having a brain blank here, but it's a little clip that you have to take off with like a snap ring, the snap ring pliers, and it's tiny. But be very careful that you don't destroy them. But I'm sure you could probably find replacements, but you know, good luck. So anyhow, I'm gonna put the new bearings on. One of the new bearings is here in the bag, and the other one's right here. I'm gonna save on this guy because it's still good. And then I will take you back over to the computer and show you why I'm doing all this. Here we go. Sorry, I forgot to show you guys this. This is why I'm doing this. It's a $500 setup with this gearbox on here. There's the motor. It's 500 bucks, and it's telling me right now it's 4 weeks out. And you have to click on this thing and say, I understand this part is not in stock, and it will be at least a month until it ships. Well, you know, I hate to tell you this, guys. You ain't got a month when you need something, especially something like this, you need it. So definitely, if you have one of these stoves, it at least wouldn't hurt to stock those 2 bearings. Okay, welcome back, guys. I have both of my new bearings installed on my rotor for my electric motor. I used the 5/16 deep well, the actual end that actually goes on the actual nut, not the side that goes on the drive. And I put it in the vise, and I gently pushed it on, because it fits almost perfectly on the inside race. Never push on the outside race, guys, if you don't know that, because that will mess your bearing up. The spring clip goes against the bearing, and then the flat goes against the back of the motor. If you guys can see this, there's the back of the motor. I already used a wire wheel and cleaned this, and be very, very, very careful not to get into any of your metal copper strands in there. That would be bad. And we're gonna push this guy right in here. Bam, done deal. This part here goes towards the motor, and these 2 divots on the case lock into these places right here, and that's what locks it together. I was very surprised there was no bolts holding any of this together. So here we go. I want to show you guys inside here, in case you tear it apart like I did and you wait 2 weeks for your bearings to show up. This here actual bearing that has the roller needles in is 8mm inside diameter, and the rest of these are like 6.3. And then this here is the one that takes the 8mm bearing, and these are the 6 ones, all 3 of these. So I'm going to put a little bit of gear oil inside here, because that's what keeps this thing alive for 20 or 30 years. You don't need a lot. You just need a little bit. And that'll lay in there and keep all that happy. As you can see, if you look at this condenser and everything, it's like got coal dust and just a little bit of oil, you know. So that's how that all, you know, gets so cruddy. Okay, I put a little bit of clear silicone on this gasket just to ensure that we get a decent seal. Let me clean this oil off here real quick. It's some real thick, sticky stuff. I'm not exactly sure what they used, but I'm sure that Lucas gear oil, that 8090, will be just fine. So it will. It was. So, like I said, the big 8mm goes towards this side. So we'll put this guy on right now. Make sure we have all of our actuator pieces lined up, and then I'll mess with getting the motor on next. Yes, we're back. I had to use a little motivation on this, and I don't know why. I tried and tried and tried, and I turned the actual outside unit to make sure the gears were spinning and everything was free, and it didn't matter what I did, I could not get that thing by hand to pop down where it needed to. But I used a little bit of motivation, not a lot, because this is kind of serious. Anyhow, I got it, and you know, that being said, yeah, don't lift it up sideways and try to figure out what's going on, because it's full of oil now, you jackass. Anyhow, we got that done, and I made a mess. Gear oil smells great. Now it's time to put our Allen head. They're actually like a star bit screw. I'm sorry, my daughter, she's mad, you know. She's a little mad about me stealing her scooter, so you're just gonna have to listen to her in the background. She's not happy. I got these guys out, which I love these things. Napa runs these Grease Monkey gloves, 3 pair for 10 bucks every holiday season. So don't forget to give them guys some love, because I get two packs every year, and they're good for doing all the things that's gonna really mess up tear up the rubber gloves. I like to use these. Plus, you know, they're good for the air tools and even the electric tools, as far as keeping the impact and the shock away from your hand. As you get older, that kind of stuff starts meaning more. When you're young, I get it. You don't care. So I'm putting about 1.2 mini Ugga-Duggas of torque on these. And I'm just going around, making sure they are all snugged up good. I did not use Loctite. There was none on them before. This motor does not spin very fast, and I think after all of the gear reduction, this thing's only at like 4.5 revolutions a minute. So now that I have everything bolted in nice and snug, I need to make sure, yes, it still turns, which is very important. Okay? That is very, very, very important that it still turns. And I will now shut you guys down here for a sec. And I'm just going to clean the outside of this very good with some carb cleaner and try to clean up my mess that I made so I can finish my video. Okay guys, we got her together. We're torqued. I put a little coat of RTV around the outside just in case my gasket fails. I also cleaned this up a little bit with some brake clean. I'm also going to let it drip dry, so I'm not making a mess. So that being said, the bearings that I'm going to put in here, the bearings I'm going to put in the description. And you guys can use my Amazon affiliate link. So, and it doesn't cost you guys anything, but I'll get, you know, if you guys order 2 bearings for like 26 bucks, I might get like 50 cents. Like, that's about all I'll get. But it helps, you know. It helps the channel. So, now I need to get this guy in here and put this guy in here. Like so. This one's up, that one's down. Make sure I'm inside my grease. I'll hold up here on this guy. And this should be the approximate location of this guy. Now I know I'm gonna need a little tappy tap action here. Just don't get too excited. You wouldn't even want to see me take this apart. Now you see all these provisions for screws. This had like a plastic piece on it that just completely deteriorated, and it was like a cap to keep the dirt out of here. And I think you may even been able to put a little bit of oil in it, but it was a piece of plastic that ran here, and it, like I said, it was done for. So. In case you're wanting to know, I'm working off of my bed on my 1969 short bed pickup truck. Get you back here real quick, in case you care. Here she is. I need to get out and drive it more this spring. I need to put some miles on it. I would take this thing cross country if I could afford the fuel in it. I put a 6-liter out of a 2001 3/4 ton truck, and I'm running the 4L80E, which is the transmission that came out of that same truck. So now that I have this put back here, what I need to do is each one of these little provisions here, I need to use a little screwdriver and smack it, and that's going to keep this motor on this gearbox cover. That's it. There's no screws holding this motor to this, which I couldn't believe. And that's it. It is seated, as you guys can see, completely seated. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to plug it in and show you guys how it works. Stay tuned. I just finished up watching the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation not too long ago, and I just got done hopefully saving my ass $500 on this Harman Magnum Stoker. So when I plug this in, if it turns on, I guess I did something right. If it doesn't turn on, well, guess what? I wasted $26. But I have a pretty good feeling this is going to work, because when I got to the stove, it was still hot. Like, this motor was hot, but it wasn't turning. So that's to let me know that the electricity was still going through it, and it hadn't actually wiped it out yet. And enough of the semantics. Let's just get to it. There we go. That's kind of a relief, because I didn't have that kind of money to put that, nor could I wait that long.